Hi guys, Amber here. It's Amber Jones, and we're back with in conversation with ATF with the absolutely all amazing, all singing, all dancing Misty Lee. Hi,
Aw.
Misty.
Hi, Amber. I don't think you should tell people I can dance. I can move, but I'm an actor who
Oh
can
well,
move.
you're a
I'm not
happy
a dancer.
person. You're just like musical and stuff
Uh,
like that.
oh yeah, yeah. But here's the deal. I've been surrounded by dancers. Being a magician, I used to hire dancers, and part of the audition was they would shout out French words, and the girls would
Uh-huh.
have to know what that meant. I
Oh,
don't
oui,
know.
oui.
Je parle un petit peu français, but not the ballet kind. And so it was like I may be able to say the word, but my body can't do it. And so I
Not
don't mess
working,
around and tell
girl.
people I'm a dancer. I know those girls had to work it. That was part of their job. They did it all around me, and I was like, you hit the final pose, and it looks
Just
like
like
you did all that too, right? The world's
yeah.
greatest magic trick was pretending I can't dance or I
Oh
can
yeah.
dance.
Yeah, well, I'm not much of a dancer myself, to be fair. Like, I've
No,
been more of an actor person. Yeah, I suppose. For those of you at home who do not know about Misty's resume, then sit yourself down because I'm going to talk to you fast. We've only got half an hour and I want to make the most of it. Right. So, Misty is known for voicing characters in TV shows such as Scheherazade and Angie in The Garfield Show, Aunt May and Squirrel Girl in Ultimate Spider-Man, Big Barda for the DC Superhero Girls franchise, Kabae in Aggretsuko, Red Sonja in Queen of Plagues. She's done that as well. I can't remember. I literally these are all just my notes, so I can't remember what's the show and what's the character, and I'm just
it's okay.
sort of
I was Red Sonja in that. Yeah.
Red Sonja, yes. And you've also been in stuff like Lego City Adventures, Amphibia, Hulk and the Agents of Smash. The video games have included being the voice of Polar, Pura, and Torna in Crash Team Racing Nitro Fueled, Baroness in G.I. Joe Operation Blackout, the Sorceress in Spyro Reunited Trilogy, Princess Leia in Star Wars Battlefront 2, Talia McGovern in Fallout 4, and you've also done voice work for games such as Star Wars Jedi Survivor, Skylanders Superchargers, Just Cause 4, Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart, should I say, Fire Emblem Engage, Batman Arkham City, Disney Infinity, Grand Theft Auto 5, Lego DC Supervillains, Saints Row the 4th, and Misty is also a former magician, which I think is really cool. So
I
yeah,
also helped co-create the sound of the clickers in The Last of Us.
oh, I was just reading that on Wikipedia. I was like, oh, wow, that's so cool. I love, honestly, just like you've got such a good resume. And of course, it makes sense
Thank
that
you.
you're welcome. It makes sense you've done a lot of DC stuff because,
Yeah.
of course, your husband is Paul Dini, the absolutely legend that is. So you're
Can
just,
confirm. True story.
oh my gosh, so you're just such like a great sort of like couple. Like, I literally am in awe. It's like, it's like, it's beautiful. I
You
don't
know, you
have
want to
the
hear a
words.
cute here's a cute personal story. I was
Oh
pulling up
yeah.
after a show, a magic show at
Uh-huh.
the Magic Castle, and I said, "Can you take my straitjacket?" And he said, "Sure." And I said, "How is Batman?" And we both looked at each other and we went, "We are different." We're an unusual couple. You know, it was just kind of funny that, neither one of us, and there's nothing wrong with doing normal jobs, but neither one of us has one.
Yeah. Yeah. So how did you sort of get into the DC Superhero Girls franchise? Did you audition or
Yeah.
did
No, I
Paul put you
auditioned.
forward?
It had,
Oh,
yeah,
okay, fair.
no, Paul didn't put me forward for anything. The very first show that first of all, you mentioned Scheherazade. That was a show that Mark Evanier was in charge of. And when I
Love
said
Mark. Oh my
yeah,
god.
you and me both. We've been very good friends with Mark for a long time, and he is
Mm-hmm.
family. He's a lovely human being. And he said, "You want to get into voiceover? Why don't you come and watch the pros do it?" And I was like, "Oh, what an amazing opportunity." So Mark would bring me into their sessions, and I'm watching Wally Wingert, Audrey Wazalewski, Greg Berger, and Frank Welker go at it. And they're just doing their thing. And how do you learn better than watching people who are great at what they do, right? So after a while, I was driving a man named Stan Freeberg home. And if you don't know who he is, you
The
should. He's amazing.
legend himself.
Yeah. So Mark threw me in as an alt on a day Audrey couldn't make it. And it was not a
Uh-huh.
part I was going to have. Audrey was going to do this, but he needed someone to read. And Mark said, "Go on in there and have fun with it." And so I went in there and I had a great time. And when Stan Freeberg heard me do that, he said, why is she not a regular cast member? Which is a really nice thing. He goes, if you don't just keep what she's doing there, you're foolish. Mark did not, because Audrey deserved and was promised that job, but he wrote that character Scheherazade to put me in the union. So he gave that to me. Both Mark and Stan kind of, they talked about it, but Mark, that it was one of the greatest gifts ever. So going back to DC Hero Girls, early in my career, I had been what's called Taft-Hartley, which is invited to join the union, which I did.
Mm-hmm.
And Paul was working on Arkham Asylum. And he said, Misty's getting her toes wet. I'd like to bring her in. And the director, Colette Sunderman, who is a beauty and a joy,
Oh,
said,
I've
okay.
heard so much about her.
Yes. Oh, she's wonderful. And just so kind. She's just really good people.
She's done all the Scooby-Doo films and everything. Like, oh my gosh, like what a resume.
Oh my gosh. She's done tons of video games. I mean, she's a very busy lady, and she's got this heart of gold. She's just lovely. But Colette agreed to that, and they brought me in for that. Then he was doing Ultimate Spider-Man, and I said, I'd really like to work on that show. And Paul said, I can get you an audition, but from here on out, I cannot get you a job. He said, it's not appropriate, it's nepotism, and it's not right. So I auditioned for that, and I did get the role of Aunt May. I was called back for Mary Jane and Aunt May, and I got Aunt May. And Tara got Mary Jane. And it was interesting.
So strong. Yeah. Oh my gosh.
Yeah. It was really interesting because I really was hoping for Mary Jane. I really want, because who doesn't want to be beautiful redhead Mary Jane, right?
And Paul came... Bell. That's the thing.
Oh, he was really nice. He was fun to work with. But Paul came home from, they were having callbacks all that week, and they had like their couple, like their final choices sort of lined up, and they were like, okay, we're seeing so-and-so, and she's being called back for that, and so-and-so, and he's being called back for this. And they were kind of, doing the recordings and messing around with the actors and seeing what chemistries and sounds would work. And he came home, and my callback for Mary Jane and Aunt May was the next morning. And he said, well, we found our Mary Jane. And I went, what? And I knew that I wasn't even gonna, like, there was no chance. Like, all of the creatives were set on Tara for Mary Jane. She had just absolutely blown it out of the water. And I was just like, because
hang on a second. That we just...
but I was like, but I mean, I'm coming in tomorrow morning, and what if, never mind. So it was like so sad, because the producer's wife had to take over where the actor, and leave the actor behind, and be like excited and supportive that he's happy about this show. But, oh, that's nice. I'm so glad to hear she did so great. You know what I mean? A suicide joke is never appropriate. I'm sorry for that. But,
okay.
But you know what I mean? I'm just kidding, and it was like the most dramatic thing I could think of. But it was just like, oh boy. And it was, he was just so excited. He didn't, he just couldn't contain it. And he's very much like a little kid. And he's like, I'm so happy about blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, I'm so happy for you. That's really nice, Paul. You know what I mean?
True love. That is true love.
Oh, I do love him. He's so great. And also, I loved that show. And I was very grateful to be a part of it. And, like it had a tremendous cast. Stephen Weber, Tom Kenny. I mean, like those. And Colette directed that too.
Yeah, she did.
And she works so fast.
Yeah.
So she directed Lego. She directed Lego.
I need more voice directors on my podcast. I've only had a select few.
Reach out to Colette and see if you can get her.
I've tried. I've had Deborah Wilson's also passed on a message, but I just can't even stand. She's too.
Did you have Deborah Wilson on?
Yes, I did. Yeah.
She is my family. I love her.
She's so lovely. Oh my gosh, yeah. I'm smiling just thinking about her. We literally text all the time. Like, oh my gosh, she is so lovely.
She is human sunshine.
I love her.
Just God on earth, just walking through her. She is just everywhere she steps. I feel like flowers grow. And it's just, she just throws out this force field of love, and she is just all grace and beauty and joy and love. And she's like that privately as well. That's not just a thing she puts on. That is who she is all the time.
Yeah, of course. And many other people that I have actually met in person. Of course, you probably see my wall of fame on my wardrobe. I've got Tara on there, I've got Frank Welker on there, I've got Jason Marsden on there.
Jason was on Garfield with us too.
He was, yeah, he was normal, yeah. And
Mhm.
I've known Mark for about 4 years now. Well, should I
Mm.
say 3 years? Well,
I've known Mark for over 20, but okay.
he's the one who he's the one who's told me all about you. I remember when I first did
Mm.
this documentary, and Mark helped me on it. It was for on a
Oh.
voice actor called Bill Scott. So we sort of
Mm.
like, and then I
Yeah.
interviewed him for my podcast, and then he was like, "Oh yeah, you should try reaching out to Misty Lee because I did a panel with her." This was back in 2020, so I was like, "Okay, I'll
Mhm.
probably reach out someday." And
Oh.
then he was like, "Again, you should try Misty Lee again." I'm like, "Okay."
Oh.
So yeah, I'm pretty much sitting here because of Mark. Thanks,
Yeah.
Mark.
Mark. Mwah! Everybody loves Mark. Should we do a kiss
Woo!
together? Here we go. One, two,
Yes.
three.
Ah.
Mwah!
Oh, I did it too soon. Yeah.
Oh, I
Oh,
like it. Oh, we got
but
double.
he does. I can't speak. He does a
I like
great
it.
cartoon voices panel at
Oh yeah.
San Diego. Yeah.
Yeah. He does it. He does it at a bunch of different cons.
Oh yeah. I've got to ask, right? I've got a personal soft spot for this guy because I've met him in person. I've
You and
video
me
chatted
both.
him many times. What was it like to work with Frank Welker?
Brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. And you know what? It's so when you're in the room with a master, I will
Mhm.
say this about Frank. Not only is he tremendous people, and he is lovely. He keeps track of things that matter to you. He sends personal emails when he knows you're having life events, and we're just cursory like work friends. Like I don't have
Wow.
that expectation of people that I kind of hardly know. I totally respect and I adore, but I haven't spent a lot of time with Frank, so I wouldn't, I had a recent loss in my life and I got a personal note from him about it. And it was just he's just a lovely guy. But what I was going to say is when you're in the room with a master, it is so
Uh-huh.
easy for them
Oh
to
yeah.
do what they're doing so well. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And in addition to that, when you are the brightest sun in the room, you can be as generous and as kind, and you can teach everyone around you and elevate them just because you are that good and that experienced and you have that deep a well of talent. And the reason I say that is this: there were lions in this script that we were recording for Garfield, and I worked with Frank on Garfield.
I think I know where this
And
is going.
what's going?
I think I know where this story's going. Keep explaining
Oh,
that. I want to see what if
sure,
I'm
sure.
right.
So, Lorraine Newman and I were both on the cast, and Lorraine was playing the female lion,
Uh-huh.
and she needed to roar, and she went rah, and Frank went, no, 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 get a trash can. And
Ah!
she said, what? And he said, just get both of you pick up. And he wanted this little plastic trash can. And he said, and he taught both of us how to roar. He said, put it here, balance it on your shoulder,
Yeah.
and do an inhale like that. And the way that it echoes,
Oh.
if you angle it a certain way, it really fills the room and it plays on the mic. And years of play and experimentation. But it ain't no thing for Frank Welker to teach us how to roar like a lion, because Frank's got umpteen years of roaring like a lion in his back pocket, right? And on his resume. I mean, the dude's Apu the monkey, for crying out loud, okay?
I know.
Apu? I don't know. I should
Abu.
know.
Yeah. Abu.
ABU. Okay, thank you. Thank you for the correction.
That's okay.
Um, but it ain't no thing for a master to teach you a little bit. And spending time in a room with a master, watching him play a mockingbird that's talking to himself, a character that's mimicking his actual character's lines. Bing, 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 bing. Mark said, you want to split them up? And Frank goes, no. Flawless. Absolutely flawless. Back and forth and back and forth and back and forth. No delineation. Just flipping. He's do the line and make fun of himself, and do the line and make fun of himself. And the scene had structure and it went somewhere. He paced it out the way that it needed to be paced out to make it an interesting, well-paced cartoon. And I mean, this was like almost, 15 years ago? I'll never forget it. But also his generosity of spirit and that open, beautiful heart of his. It's like, I hear all the time, oh, that work is so competitive. It's so ugly. I ain't seen it. I don't know what goes on behind the scenes, but I will tell you what happens in the booth, and it is just joy. And it is masters saying, oh, hey, there's an easier way to do that. And then if you want, they don't even have to tell you that, because they would never. They want to let artists be artists and give you all the space you need to do the creating you want to create. But if you go, for example, if you're looking at the script and it says running, and all of a sudden the person next to you isn't making noise on the mic, but they're doing this with their arms, and they're not making any noise at all. And you go, oh, that's how you run. I learned that from Frank too.
And has he ever taught you how to talk underwater?
No. No, like I said, I have hardly spent time with the guy.
Well,
like a little bit of time. I mean, he just had that great an effect on me. That's how magnanimous and huge Frank Welker's presence is. He's just incredible.
I know. So you got to get your finger, make your lips all flubbery, and then you just got to talk a little bit like this. So that's how you used to do it, of course. Well, a lot of people have talked like this. So
that's amazing.
That is one of Frank's techniques.
I have been in the holding tank when you were waiting to like go in, or having a little 10-minute break, as the union is they require it, just to make sure that you don't get abused as an actor, which is nice. Somebody made a coffee in the break room, and it was making noise. You know how like when you're doing the steaming the milk and stuff. And Frank and I were talking about airplanes because he flies private planes.
He is, he's a pilot.
Mm-hmm. And I was interested in getting my pilot's license, which I'm still interested in doing. I just never got around to it. But no, I will. But he heard this noise, and he was mid-sentence, and he went, and I watched him listen to it, and I watched him find it and mimic it perfectly. And I watched him grab something and add it to it, like place it, and then add it to his inventory that fast. And I was like, holy, it was like a mini masterclass. And the other thing that monster did, and this I will never forget, because I don't know how he did it, was he picked up a glass with ice, shook it, and then he set it down on the table, opened a bottle of soda, poured it in the glass, and drank it. It fizzed, and then he drank it, and he had nothing in his hand. There was nothing in his hand, Amber. I just heard the whole thing. How do you even do that? It was just like...
He's unstoppable. He's out of control. I miss him so much. I met him last October, and like I haven't really spoken to him. I mean, we have each other's emails, but I don't hear from him anymore, and I miss him. I don't know when he's coming back.
I think he is so incredibly busy. I cannot even try or pretend, you know, what to know what his schedule is. I just know his legend and his legacy, and I know that he's real busy. So but he is just, I mean,
I know. Oh, I miss him. So that water bottle's real. You couldn't just do it like something like Frank would do. No.
No. I don't even try to be Frank. I'm never going to be Frank. I mean, Frank's never going to be me either, but who cares about that?
Yeah. But
actually, I mean, we are who we are.
Yeah, of course. And there's obviously a lot of people that you probably know through as well as Paul, like in general. So Tara Strong, obviously, I met her. She was the first.
She is lovely and super talented.
She voice directed me for something a few years back, and I'm still waiting to see what it looks like. She's managed to kick me into the industry, and I love it. I've loved every second of it.
Doesn't surprise me. She's another one. She's got that, you know, that wedding veil train, or like a bridal train or whatever, that just goes miles long. And she's got all the room in the world to be generous, because she's Tara freaking Strong.
Oh yeah.
You know, I mean, it's just like, and she's, like I said, she is just a lovely person, really, truly.
Oh yeah, definitely. And of course, I've got to bring up two lovely people who we've unfortunately lost within the past year. Of course, it was just after my head's gone completely blank because I was watching you eat. Then I was like, what are you eating?
This is it's a syrup, because I just did that scream a couple minutes ago. I was
like, I thought it was a frube. It's a frube. It's like one of those things, and it's like a yogurt, but it's like a sort of sachet, whatever they're called.
No, I just had no class, and I was
like, okay.
Yeah, you're like, why is she having some yogurt right now? No, we call it Fred juice in the industry after Fred Tatasciore, because he brought it in, and it's a little convenient packet of Chinese loquat syrup, and it's called Nim Jam Pe Pa Koa, and a lot of us use it to kind of lubricate our voices. And people it's like a cough syrup, but people go, that stuff doesn't work. Why do you guys do that? It works for me. So I just keep little packets of it here in my voiceover booth. And whenever I scream or something, I just make sure that I just lubricate things, and I was like, oh, be more responsible when I did that little scream talking about Frank. I just kind of felt it a smidge, so I'm just doing this quickly. And because I have no class, I didn't say excuse me or announce what I was doing. I just stuck stuff in my mouth. So you're welcome.
Oh, Misty, I love you so much.
You're like, let's talk about some people we've lost. And I'm like,
so let's just have a fruit break.
Whatever, man.
So so last week, of course, we were going to do this last week, and then someone unexpectedly came up in my life, so I had to postpone it. A few days prior, we had lost Arlene Sorkin, who was the OG Harley Quinn, and I'm pretty sure you've obviously met her and stuff.
Oh my God.
Paul was best friends with her in college.
They were very close. Well, I mean, they were very close their whole lives. And so one of the things that I said to him earlier, and he will speak to this better than I can, but I watched this woman's influence in his life. She was at times a mother, a big sister, a best friend, you know, stand in for a female companion if he wasn't dating somebody. And I don't mean that they never dated or anything, but it, you know, but like he would say, oh, I'm thinking about, and she'd be like, oh my God, don't, you know, she was just, they had a very honest, loving relationship, that, like platonic, which is a very nice example of that. It can be done, you know, because she had Chris and he had girlfriends and then he had me, and, you know, and she was just powerful in the best way. I watched this woman whose body was failing her, and she was ill for years and years and years and years before she passed away. And I don't know if people knew that, but I watched
I knew, but I couldn't say publicly. Her son didn't want me
and
to
I don't know how much, you know, like I don't know how much the family is putting out, and I don't know anything, you know, I don't want to speak to anything about that, but I will tell you what I saw. I saw this woman who would wear pajama pants and a suit jacket and stay in bed all day and call the president of networks and tell him what they were going to buy. They were like, she was like, you need to look at this show because it's amazing and this person is great and it's right on brand for you. You're going to take a meeting, put me through to your secretary, and I'll give you his name. And people listened to her because she was brilliant, she was quick, she was considerate, I've talked about inventory. She kept inventory of who was looking for what and what you needed. And she was like the most beautiful, powerful spider. And what she did was just weave webs. You should know this one. You should know that one. Do you know so-and-so? You're gonna, you know, and it was just joom, 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 joom. And she would just weave this beautiful tapestry of people and just connect them in the most authentic and appropriate ways. And when she passed, I told Paul, I said, she was just a shining example of who I want to be when I grow up. Because it wasn't about being sick. It was about being here right now. And I taught magic to her two sons, and Owen and Eli are just, they are so different and they are so lovely. They are just remarkable human beings, and they are smart and they are funny. And they are just, everything around her, she lit up like the sun. And I'm very sorry for everyone's loss. And I know they're going to be okay because that light she is burns inside them. And everyone she ever touched. And she is just a force of nature and a joy. Yeah.
I feel myself getting choked up because I'm thinking about the voice message she sent her, and Eli was the one who I was conversing with, and I did. Oh yeah, my story. Okay, so I got in touch with Eli last year, and and he was like, "Okay, I'm seeing my mum tomorrow. I'll tell her you said hi." I was like, "Yeah, sure." She sent me that voice message. I knew she was sick, but obviously, like, you know, I couldn't say anything publicly because it wasn't really public.
I don't even know if it's appropriate that I said it. And so if it is not, my apologies to everybody. You know, I think people knew she was ill and that it's kind of been announced.
It has been made public.
Decades.
On news sites.
Yeah, it wasn't like the past 6 months. It was decades of her battling and winning and being a champion and persevering. And it's just such a strong testament to who and what she was. She was a powerhouse.
And multiple sclerosis. Multiple sclerosis. The Hollywood. Really?
Mm-hmm.
Oh wow! So the Hollywood Reporter news people, they made that public and said she had been battling that for years. So it pretty much is public knowledge now. But I hope you're doing okay with the MS. I put a little charity thing up for Arlene, and I'll donate and
Send me
stuff.
the link and I'll donate to it.
Of course. Oh yes, definitely. Yeah, in in her memory.
Of course.
What was I gonna say? So yeah, me and
Eli.
Eli got acquainted, and he was so lovely. And then I was like, "Can I do my college project based on your mum's career?" Because we had to pick a celebrity in our performing arts course to do a performance on. So I was like, can I do a play on your mum?" And he was like, yeah, sure. And so he helped me with research. He said he has helped me with what I could, and I couldn't put, obviously, I couldn't say that she was sick or anything. I could only say she was retired. So a few days before the exam, he says to me, as you know, my mum's birthday is coming up, and as a part of the festivities, me and my brother would like to present your PowerPoint with the script to her. I was like, my jaw hit the floor. I was like, yes,
yeah, that's
yeah.
awesome.
I was like, I was so happy because I literally have the screenshots in my hand right now, and he was
you said you forgot to buy your mother a present, Eli.
Is that your present? And he's
did you forget to get her something?
It's just a PowerPoint. It's a three gift.
No,
yeah.
I get it.
Yeah. So
free gift that someone else did. That's very clever, sir. You're gonna present it like you did it, are you? How'd that go, dude?
And he said, we'll
I am just giving him the horse there.
They'll be like, oh, we'll perform it, but not as well as you'll do it, obviously. I was like, oh, thank you. So they did it, and like there was a bit of confusion because I thought like his mum didn't want photos on the PowerPoint. I was like, okay, well I've got to have loads of photos because I can't really read from a script or off the PowerPoint. He's like, oh no, she didn't want to be photographed when she was looking at that. It says, you did a great job and my mom loved it. It made her emotional, honestly, to know she has fans. That's why she didn't exactly want to be photographed. So there's no obviously I haven't seen evidence, but I just know in my heart that on that very day, Arlene saw and appreciated my work. And just I feel as if like someone said that she would be proud of me. She would want me to keep going, and I just think she's left a piece of her with me.
Absolutely. See what I mean? That's how bright her sun was shining.
Yeah.
Is that all the way across the pond you were lit up. That's pretty.
I'm so sad I never got to meet her in person, but I'm glad I did have that look.
I think you got exactly what you needed.
It would have been lovely, but hey, I don't get to come to California until March. I forgot.
How nice for you.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Because my god, I'm so excited for it. I'll have to tell you about it in a bit. Before we run out of time, I'd like to quickly speak to you about a lovely person we lost, Kevin Conroy, real quick. Yeah. So tell me a little bit about your time with Kevin Conroy.
I didn't actually spend a lot of time with Kevin, but I did get to help him. This is so cute. Because they had done the Batman the Animated Series and all that stuff existed long before I did in Paul's life. You know, Paul and I have been together about 20 years, which is a long time. But it's
2005. I was born in 2004, the year before you guys met. You're as old as
we'd already met then. I think we met in 2003. What? Yeah, so we met in 2003. We got married in 2005, and but Kevin used to call the house sometimes when they were working on stuff or he had questions about things. And once he was having trouble with Instagram, and Paul said, "Can you help Kevin get on Instagram Live?" Neither one of us knows how to do this, and so I don't get starstruck really because this is just the nature of the industry, and you bump into them all the time, and it's just like so nice to meet them. And sometimes they're jerks; it's very rare, you know. But Kevin, of course, is just a joy and sunshine. And he got on the phone, and it was that Batman voice is largely his regular voice. And as soon as he started talking to me, I was like, I was so like, I got Batman. Hello! Right. But I helped him with his Instagram Live, and then I put it on mute, and I went, I just Alfreded Batman.
Bruce Wayne. Oh, yes.
But it was like, I don't normally get like that, but it made me so shy and nervous to hear just his voice. And it's so lovely to have a natural instrument. It's not just a skill he acquired, it's just what he was. Makes people viscerally react. You know, I mean, here's the hero, and it's not my story to tell, but you can look it up. There's a 9/11 story about him volunteering and being a hero in real life.
Beautiful.
Yeah, that's a Paul Dini story, but it's more than that. It's a Kevin Conroy story, you know, but it's been published, and you can look it up, and it's just these beautiful people making wonderful things, and it's just so nice to be a little tiny part of it.
I know, honestly.
But he made me very shy, and he was super cool.
these people make me very shy. I'm just like, hi. Just like, oh no, I'm sorry, I screwed up. I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
No, and every one of them is probably like, you're actually really fine, because we're all so weird, you know. You talk to any of us, and it's like, blah, 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 you know. Some people do bits, and some people do a bunch of impressions, and other people are just like, tell me all about you, and it's like, oh God, you know, we're all bizarre.
Trust me, Misty, when I talk to Frank Welker, and then people usually ask him, oh, do the voice of Megatron or something like that. Every time we talk, we just like, oh yeah, how's life over there? Oh, he's like, oh yeah, good. How's life over there? How's life in the UK? I'm like,
now you can ask him about his airplanes and how he adds to his inventory.
I did ask him when we were in Edinburgh, have you been flying? He said, no, my plane's been in the workshop. I'm like, oh well.
He's probably got more than one.
He's probably what? Sorry,
I said he's probably got more than one plane.
He probably does. Heck, yeah. I mean, knowing the guy, he probably has about 10 or 20. I don't know.
I don't know anything about his life. I just know that he's a wonderful human.
Oh, yeah. Wow, Misty, we're going to have to do a part 2 someday because there is so much to talk about. Oh my gosh. So, with that being said, thank you to you guys at home for watching part 1 of the Misty Lee episode of In Conversation with ATF. Misty, where can we find you on the net?
I am at Magical Misty Lee on Instagram. I am mistylee.com, mistyleevo.com. And I don't know, just kind of creeping on anybody who's doing funny stuff. That's it. If you look in the comments, I'm probably lurking.
Just like me then.
Same.
Yeah, same. She's just like me for real. Guys, thank you so much for watching this episode. We'll be back with part 2 someday. But for now, I hope you have a great rest of your day. And thank you for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe.
Oh, wait. We got to go out with a coordinated blow kiss.
Yes, of course.
Right? So what did you say? The last thing you said was like and subscribe. Don't forget to like and subscribe.
Like and subscribe. Yeah.
Here we go. 1, 2, 3.
Mwah! There we go. We did it in time. Thank you, guys. And cut.